Okay, we will continue our discussion of sequences and series, and in this case, we're going to talk about a series. What is a series? It's an expression of the form of some sum of numbers. And so I want to point out that this thing right here is what we call sigma. And what is sigma? It's a Greek letter that means sum. So in math, it's going to mean a sum. So if I am looking at the sum of something, I'm going to look at the sum of numbers from k equals 2 to k equals 5. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Well, we're going to plug in k values right there. So suppose when I plug in 2, what do I get? Well, I'm going to get 4 times 2, which is 8 minus 4, which is 4. So when I plug in 2, I get 4. All right, now I'm going to plug in the number 3. And so I'm going to plug in the number 3, and we're not really going to use these numbers, it's just telling me what to plug in. We're worried about these numbers down that we're going to write in this area right here. Okay, so let's see here. If I plug in the number 3, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. Now let's plug in the number 4, because we're going to go from 2, and that's important. Maybe I failed to mention it, from 2 to 5. Okay, and we're going to plug in 4. 4 times 4 is 16 minus 4, which is 12. Plus, and now we're going to plug in the final number 5. 4 times 5 is 20 minus 4, which is 16. And the sigma again means sum. So we're going to add up all of these numbers. And it's very simple. 4 plus 8 plus 12 plus 16, you guessed it, it's 40. Very, very simple, very easy to do. All right. But what if we were asking you to go from 2 to 100? Yeah, that might take you some time and maybe just some busy work. But I'll tell you this. There's a trick on the calculator. And I'll put a link for a video of somebody else, that knows how to use a calculator, not me. I don't typically use a calculator. But I'll put a link in the description, and that should help you out, I think. You could figure these out on a calculator for sure. But let's take a look at another one, and we'll work it out by hand as well. All right, and then we're going to look at another one that I'm just going to tell you the answer, and we'll let you figure it out on the calculator. How about that? Okay, cool. So let's take a look at another one. This one goes from 1 to 4. So we're going to plug in 1 in for k right here, and we're going to square it. 1 squared minus 2, that's 1 minus 2, which is negative 1. Now we're going to plug in the number 2. That's 2 squared, which is 4 minus 2, which is 2. Then we're going to plug in the number 3. 3 squared is 9 minus 2, which is 7. Okay, I'm on the right track so far. And then last but not least, our number 4. And on the number 4, we're going to plug in 4 squared, which is 16, minus 2, which is 14. And then, just as if magic, we add up the numbers, because that's what sigma means. Again, remember, it means sum. Negative 1 plus 2 plus 7 plus 14, and that equals 22. All right, so nothing to it. Now let's look at one last example, and this one I'm just going to write out here. Let's say it goes from j equals 5 to, 13, and let's say we're going to go aj squared. J is just the index. It tells us what value we're on, what nth or jth number we're on in this case. aj squared, let's say, minus 4. So the challenge for you, watch the link that's in the description that shows you how to work this out on a calculator and figure this one out right here on the calculator. But I'm going to tell you the secret The answer is that it is 7,065. But again, watch the link in the description that shows you how to do this exactly on the calculator. Okay, so just a little bit of talk here about some series. And these right here are what we call finite series because they actually end. All right, when you get into maybe a Calculus 2 course, you're probably going to be talking about infinite series. So that's a discussion for another time. But these examples are pretty easy. You can calculate them for the most part by hand, and otherwise you can do them on the calculator just like we did on the very last example. So if this video was helpful, be sure to like and subscribe.